Today is February 5th, 2020, and you're listening to episode 173 of the Daily Devotion Podcast from Devotable. Today's devotion is titled, Keeping Our Eyes on Jesus, and was contributed by Heather Hart. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a huge crowd of witnesses to the life of faith, let us strip off every weight that slows us down, especially the sin that so easily trips us up. And let us run with endurance the race God has set before us. We do this by keeping our eyes on Jesus, the champion who initiates and perfects our faith. Because of the joy awaiting him, he endured the cross, disregarding its shame. Now he is seated in the place of honor beside God's throne. Hebrews 12, 1-2. NLT. Have you ever experienced something that shook your faith? Something that happened so quickly yet was out of your control? When these events happen, our human nature has a hard time keeping our eyes on Jesus. But we can learn to trust him through these events. My daughter was almost run over today. It wasn't her fault, but maybe I should start at the beginning. It started out like any other day. We ran through our morning routine, which ended up in the drop-off lane at school. We were running a touch behind schedule, so it was backed up. Thus, I pulled into the far lane, which isn't abnormal. I reminded the girls to watch for cars, told them I loved them, and watched them cross over the lanes. In the blink of an eye, the traffic was at standstill. The truck in the front of the first lane was letting his child out, so my daughter started to cross in front of him. But as soon as his child shut the door, he started to pull out. He didn't even look. And in that moment, my heart stopped. It was over in an instant. He quickly slammed on the brakes. My daughter gave him a deer in the headlights kind of look, and then finished crossing the drop-off zone. It was finished. Only it wasn't. I made it halfway home before I burst into tears. When talking to my husband about it, he said we should focus on how good God is, on what a blessing it was that the driver saw her before it was too late. That we should be thankful this experience would stick with her and help her to be more aware of her surroundings. Yet the mama in me just wants to hold her close and cry. It's so easy to get stuck in that moment. Have you ever been there? Have you ever found yourself in a moment like that, where the event is over, yet the fear is still gripping your heart? You're afraid of what might have been, or maybe it's anger. Sometimes something happens, and it really gets under my skin, even though it really shouldn't. It's something that happened in a moment and it's over, yet I'm still seething. Have you ever been there? In moments like those, I'm thankful for my husband. He always listens to my side of the story, gently reminds me that God is good, and that I should act like it, usually in just the words I need to hear. Keeping our eyes on Jesus. In the book of Hebrews, Paul wrote, Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a huge crowd of witnesses to the life of faith, let us strip off every weight that slows us down, especially the sin that so easily trips us up. And let us run with endurance the race God has set before us. We do this by keeping our eyes on Jesus, the champion who initiates and perfects our faith. Because of the joy awaiting him, he endured the cross, disregarding its shame. Now he is seated in the place of honor beside God's throne. Hebrews 12, 1-2, NLT. That's where I mess up. I take my eyes off Jesus. Instead of running the race God has set out for me, I'm shaken and fixated on an event in the past. I'm stuck on a moment, and even though nothing bad happened in that moment, I let it trip me up anyway. I let it slow me down. I don't know if that's something you can relate to or not, but I know this isn't a one-time thing for me. It's not something that just happened the one day. However, it's something that I can work on now that I'm aware of it. In fact, now that I'm aware of it, I can recognize it as a sin that so easily trips me up. And if it's a struggle you share, maybe you can too. Heather, I can relate to this as well. And it's not a one-time thing for me, and I'm sure it's not a one-time thing for everybody else who can relate to this. Now, I'm generally a pretty easygoing person. I don't let things get under my skin. It takes a lot to make me angry or sad or emotional to set me off. But when things like that happen, for example, your example here is a perfect scenario. That would have been one of those things that kind of throws me off for the day. When it's something that involves my close friends or family or even children, I have a tendency to do the same thing that you did and react the same way that you did. And I think most people, if they were honest with themselves, have the same reaction. We let some of these things in life trip us up and get our focus off of Christ where it needs to be. So I have been right where you were in this situation, and I know a lot of people have as well. And unfortunately, I also know a lot of people that didn't learn the lesson that you learned here. I have known people and continue to know people that have let events like this in their past shake their faith, shake the foundation which they stand on. And subsequently, they have either drifted away from the faith, or they have let that event impact their life, and now it's very difficult to see their faith in action because they're consumed by that event. It's led to their constant anger or their constant bitterness. It's taken over. And unfortunately, we see that sometimes in people's lives because they take their eyes off God. They let that sin so easily trip them up, as the writer of Hebrews says. They get tripped up, they fall down, and they fail to continue to run the race that God has set before them. They take their eyes off of Christ and drift away. And that's an unfortunate reality that we all have to face. John Bradford so famously said, "There but for the grace of God go I," supposedly referencing 1 Corinthians 15, 8 through 10, meaning that it's only by God's grace that we don't end up like the people I just mentioned. It's only by God's grace that we're able to experience events like this and then get back on track with our focus directed on Jesus. So we need to pray, and we need to be diligent about asking God to strengthen our faith through events like this, keeping our eyes on Christ no matter what happens in our life. No matter what thing comes into our life, no matter what struggle, we need to pray and ask God that He will help us keep our eyes on Christ no matter what that thing is. Thank you, Heather, for being transparent with us about some of the struggles that you have, because it's not unique to you, I can assure you. If you're struggling with it, thousands of other people struggle with it, and they need some encouragement, and they need some words and godly advice on how to deal with some of these things and overcome. Heather is a brand new writer for Devotable, and I am so appreciative that she found us and is willing to contribute to Devotable. Heather Hart is an author and blogger with an unquenchable passion for Christ. Her hope is that through writing she can help others soak up the love of Jesus. And I think that's what she accomplished in this writing by encouraging people to keep their eyes focused on Jesus no matter what life throws at them. You can find out more about Heather at booksfaithandcoffee.com, or as always, you can see her profile at the bottom of today's devotion, or search for her profile on the devotableapp.com website, clicking on the About and Contributors section, searching for Heather Hart, and seeing her profile to connect with and learn more about her there. Thank you all so much for joining me today as I read today's daily devotion. My name is Landon, and I'm the creator of Devotable. I know there are a lot of great podcasts out there that bring you closer to God each day, but I am truly honored that you chose to spend the last 15 or so minutes listening to me and one of our amazing authors. It really does mean the world to me. If this is your first time listening, maybe you're interested in learning more about Devotable and what we do. Well, we're a collection of writers, bloggers, and authors who team up and create daily devotional content that does three things. First, we try to encourage believers daily. Second, we try to reach the lost with God's powerful message. And third, we try to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ around the world on as many platforms as we can. If you're interested in helping us or contributing to Devotable in any way, you can visit our website at devotableapp.com/contribute. There, you'll learn about the opportunity to write for us or to partner with us via our Patreon page and much more. Speaking of Patreon, now is a great time to partner with us. As a partner, you get special access to perks and discounts online, a special look into what we're doing before the public does, and exclusive access to our books and devotions that we publish. Also, as of February 1st, we've opened pre-orders for our second book titled Prayer, Approaching the Throne of Grace, which is a 26-week devotional and journal on prayer. If you're a Patreon partner, you'll get a copy or two of this book sent to you when we launch it. So now is a perfect time to sign up and become a partner with us. Head on over to devotableapp.com/contribute to learn more. And if you're not interested in partnering with us on Patreon, I certainly understand that. But you can still pre-order the book on our website at devotableapp.com/prayer journal. There you can find out information about the book's contents, the price, the official launch date, and all the rest of the details. I am so excited about this book and how it's going to help people in their prayer life. Prayer is the lifeblood that connects us with God, and without it, we can't possibly have the full relationship with our Savior that He desires. My heart is that this devotional helps people learn how to pray better, that it assists them in seeing the power of prayer in their everyday lives. So I am so excited to finally get this project launched and out to the public. So again, if you want to learn more, head on over to our website at devotableapp.com/prayer journal. If this daily devotion has blessed you in any way, would you please consider sharing it with a friend? From clicking that share button to forwarding on an email or just mentioning us to someone over coffee. That's how we grow. When people like you are blessed and pass that blessing along to others, more people learn about Devotable. So I would encourage you guys to click that like button or share button, comment on one of our posts, or even leave us some feedback on our podcast or one of our books. We love to hear feedback and encouraging words from our audience. Lastly, I would love to know how I can pray for you. This ministry, to me, is all about connecting with people, and I'd love to be able to connect with you and pray for you. If you have a prayer request, you can let me know anytime via our social media channels. You can send me a message on Facebook or send me a message in Instagram DM, or you can go to our website, click on the Connect page, and send me an email from there. I would love to pray for you guys in whatever you're going through in your life today. Again, thank you so much for tuning in to today's Daily Devotion podcast. And until the next time, have a great day.